Hi, so I'm Mr. Sear and I'll be running through how to set up the coffee machine for a service on the big red truck. So as you know, the first thing that we do when we get into the truck is we make sure our hair is tied back. I don't have to worry about that. Wash our hands and put on our apron. So the reason we do this first is that anything that may be on your hands isn't brought into the truck. Wash your hands really well and ensure that your nails are clean as well. Excellent, and make sure you dry them off with a paper towel. That's right. Alright, so the first thing we need to do, our coffee machine. Now the coffee machine takes around 20 minutes to heat up, so we need to make sure we switch that on. Turn the knob up and you'll see the lights flash once, which comes on, and the needle here would normally be at 0. We have already started preheating it for today's demonstration, but we need it up in the green area here before we start working. We need to go to the side and check that our outlet bottle is empty. We also need to check that our water tank is full to half. Okay, depending on how busy you think your service is going to be, you want to try and have this full no less than half. Okay. There's nothing worse than trying to change it halfway through a busy coffee service. Trust me, I've had to do that before, and it's not fun. Alright, next thing we check is our fridges. So we have to check our fridge temperature. A good way to do this, because the jugs have their thermometers in there, you can actually see the temperature on those, and you can feel that it is cold. Or you could check it with a point and shoot thermometer. Okay? Alright, so that's the first steps to switching on and setting up our coffee machine. Alright, so as the machine heats, we need to make sure that we've got the group heads locked in, so they warm up at the same time as the machine does. Okay? One of the first things you'd probably do when you're setting up is lay out your cups, plates, spoons and things so they can warm as the machine warms. So when you're pouring your coffees, if you're using real cups, they're warm for the coffee to go straight into. Okay, therefore your coffee doesn't go cold before it goes to the customer. Next thing we need to do is put together our hopper. So we carefully add that in. Make sure you don't twist it, otherwise you might adjust the grind too much. Okay. And in your beans, make sure that you use any Make sure you use any up that you had open first before you go adding any more into the hopper, because you don't want to fill this up completely and have the beans open for too long, because they will go stale and then the crema won't work as quick. Hello.
Hello.
The crema won't work like it should and you'll end up with a subpar coffee. Alright, so next on our setup, we need to set up our bench so everything is within reaching distance, so we're setting up our mise en place. Alright, so I've gone ahead and laid out everything that we need for today's coffee service. I'll just run through quickly what we've got. So we've got our 3 different flavourings here. We have a hazelnut, a caramel and a vanilla. We have our drinking chocolate, our chai, tea bags, white sugar for tea, and we have raw sugar here for coffee, some stirring spoons, a drinks tray. So they either come in 2 or 4, depending on how many you need to send out. And we have some of the different milk varieties. So we've got almond milk, soy milk, light soy milk, and lactose-free milk. Okay, we also have in the fridge over the back there, we've got full cream and skim milk as well. We've also got our docket book here for taking orders. So this would be used to go around and get orders from customers, come back, and they'd be given to the person operating the coffee machine to send them out. We have a timer. So the timer would be used to time the shots to make sure that we get our grind right when we come to setting that. We also have our chocolate powder shaker, which is used on the top of cappuccinos, hot chocolates, and other beverages that people would like it on. We have our 3 cloths as well. So we've got our pink cloth, which is used for the milk wands and wiping over the milk wands. The green cloth, which is used for wiping out our group heads and anything to do with coffee beans, so up in here. And we have our blue cloth, which is our general purpose cloth, so we might use that to wipe down the bench as we go and things like that. The reason we have the pink and the green cloth separate is that we don't want to get the coffee grinds into the ends of your milk head, because this is going into the milk. You might end up with coffee grinds through your milk, and that's not nice. You also might end up blocking up the end of it. Okay? Make sure in between uses that the wands get wiped down thoroughly, because the milk will burn onto those straight away, and then they can be really hard to clean afterwards. Okay? I've also laid up the cups and the lids for quick access while you're working. We've laid out our tamp. Hello, Brad. Our grind bin as well there, and we've got the grinder on ready to go. So if you just have a quick look here, we can see that that's up to temperature, okay, and that machine is ready. To double check this, okay, I'm just going to release one of the wands slightly. And we're getting pressure through. Okay, so be careful, that wand will be hot now, so make sure you use the rubber piece to move it around. Alright, one thing that is good to note is to check the use-bys of your milk, okay, because sometimes the dates are short. Make sure that you check them before every service and that the milk's been rotated correctly. So if you've got use-by dates that are very close at the back, they need to be brought to the front to be used first. One thing that I might mention is, so we've got 3 different jugs here. I would suggest that you get a marker and you label the jugs. So you might have one that says full cream, one for soy or low fat, it's up to you, and one for lactose-free milk. It's worth labelling the jugs, that way if there's a few people working to produce the coffees, then everyone's clear on what product is in that jug, and that jug gets used for that product only. Another thing to note is you do have 2 wands. I generally use one for milk products, so your full cream and your light milk, and one for non-milk products. That way there's no contamination. So if you're using almond milk and someone has a nut allergy, then obviously your almond milk's on one side, your fresh milk's on the other. So there's the risk of contamination is a lot less, and it's no different to people that have a lactose issue, then they're separate as well. Okay. Moving on to your beans, there's a couple of different types of beans that we can use. We can use Arabica beans or Robusta beans. So thinking about Robusta beans, like the name suggests, it is a robust flavour, okay? So it's a lot more bold than what you would expect with an Arabica bean, okay? So the way the flavours come out in the beans depends on the roasting style, the time that they've been roasted, and where they come from. Alright, so now I'm going to talk you through tamping a shot, okay? So first we need to fill the filter with coffee. This is very serious.
The serious side of things?
Very serious.
Like a tinting?
No, thank you. Alright, so with our shot, we need to tamp at roughly 15 kilos of pressure. So if you'd like to practice that at all, at home, get out your bathroom scales and push on it until it gets up to 15 kilos.
Personally,
That's rough. Personally, you prefer 12? Righto. Have a go at that. That's a good way to practice how much 15 kilos of pressure actually looks like. Okay? So I'm going to show you what happens if you tamp it too hard. So I'm going to put on lots of pressure there.
No, look, I don't like that.
Don't like that?
No, that's too much.
You probably won't. So see what I'm doing here?
I won't drink that.
You want even pressure on your tamp. I haven't done that, so that's not going to extract how we want it to. See how one end is lower than the other? Excellent. Alright. So you need to try and get an even tamp. Now I've tamped this way too hard, so I reckon our coffee shot is not going to come out very good. Let's have a look here. So see how that's taking way too long for the coffee to come out?
Yeah, it looks like
And
syrup.
it's not running. You'll end up with a burnt, bitter coffee. Okay? I've tamped it way too hard. I've compressed the coffee too much, and it's not getting the water through that it needs to.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop that
That
there.
looks quite feral, doesn't it?
I'm going to stop that there and give that to Brad to drink, because I'm
Oh,
sure
no.
he loves a nice dark bit of coffee. Alright, so we'll knock this one out.
That's a bit burnt, Matt.
That's what we expected though. Alright, so we'll tap this out. Half the coffee isn't even wet in there at the moment because it just didn't. So we're just going to give that a wipe. Always make sure that your machine is clean. If it's not, you'll end up with burnt coffee because grounds will get caught up in it. Alright. So now I'm going to show you what happens if you tamp it too softly. Right, so I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on there like that. Wipe it off so nothing gets up in here and burnt. Okay. Put that on. Now we'll run this shot. Let's have a look here. Alright, see how that's running really quickly and there's lots of water coming through and it's sort of spurting out? That means our tamp was too soft. Okay, so let's compare the two now. Have a look and just see what even the colour, you can see the crema
Water.
is completely different. One's really watery, one's really dark. Alright, so that's the two extremes. We want something in between those two.
It's just like muddy water.
Now if we have a look at the grind here that's just come out, okay, this is really watery. And if I tap it off, it's not going to come out as a puck. It's come out messy, hasn't it? Okay, that means there is way too much water that's gone through that. I'm just going to rinse that one out before I wipe it off because there's so many grinds in that head. Okay? Alright. Let's have a look here. I'm going to put that one back on to warm back through now because I have just ran cold water through it. Okay?
I'm waiting for my coffee. That's what I'm doing.
I know. You're very impatient today, aren't you?
Sorry.
Alright. Time to get serious now because Brad wants his coffee.
That's right, you're going to make a real one.
I'm going to make him a real one. So see, I'm not putting too much weight on there. I'm giving it a little tap as I go and I'm making sure it's even. That way when the water comes through the coffee, there's no spots where it pools and it'll extract.
Was that 12 or 15?
It was 12.5 to 13 pounds of pressure, I believe.
Thank you
Kilos
very
of
much.
pressure, I believe.
Thank you.
Okay, as per your instructions. Alright, so I'm going to pop the cup under and we'll have a look at see how this runs. Alright, so see how that's a continuous flow? I've always been told it needs to look a little bit like a mouse tail as it comes out. Okay? It's not spurting and it's not restricted. That seems like a pretty good shot to me. Alright, so let's have a look here between the three. So this was our second shot that we ran that was too watery. Look at the crema and how that's broken down. Okay, this was the first shot that we ran and how dark and molassesy that looks. This was our last shot that we ran. Brad, do you want to do the taste test for me, please? Now, is that a bit better?
Oh, it's tight. That's nice. Very nice. So it'd be better with a little bit of lactose-free milk and that sort of stuff, and a bit of cream and.
Don't want much, do you? Alright, so that's the shots.
Hang on, my water's overflowing.